Just point to me like you're a big-time TV producer. Yeah!
All right.
Hey, welcome. Massive Chalice Teamstream 13. Sorry about the delay, but we're live now, or at least we should be. Joining me today, John Burnhelm, in his fantastic Die Hard cosplay.
It's not cosplay. But I am celebrating, happy Die Hard days.
It is the best Christmas movie. I feel like that's really, that's just, you can't even, I don't know. What are you going to say to that?
All I can say is, yippee-ki-yay, massive backers.
You did it.
You totally nailed it. Awesome. All right, also over here on Art Couch, I have Andy Wood, art director, and Derek Brand, concept artist. We're going to jump into some concept art and talk about what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks.
Also, what was this week? This was like a monumentous week for Massive Chalice.
Oh, this is the official end of our pre-production, which is great. So when we come back, so this is kind of last day in the office, in the studio, and we always do a pretty sweet shutdown over the kind of holiday break.
Sweet shutdown.
And then when we
but
get
we
back
have armed guards at the office. So
don't come here and rob us.
Yeah.
But then when we come back in January, we'll be officially in production. We have a schedule that will take us out for a number of months to finish the game, and then we'll ship the damn thing. It'll be awesome.
And our goal was to have kind of first playable at this point,
yes.
right? Like do a lot of exploration on the different art styles and the map types we're going to do. Have characters, a range and a melee character that we can fight with and fight against. And I think we've hit that goal and then some. You'll actually see a lot more than that in the game today. So I'm stoked.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we're going to just jump into some art while we got you guys on the Art Couch. So one of the things that we tackled over the last couple of weeks was the house colors and how they'll be represented on the 3 core classes with their armor. Like, so now that we have their armor in the game, totally like representative of like how we'd like it, we did these paintovers of. So can you just talk about a little bit about the process of paintovers for a minute? Because I feel like for the folks at home, it's a pretty complicated process, right?
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's all in the name.
Yeah, it might be in the name, which is it's basically we just take screenshots of the game in its current form, and then you paint over the screenshot to come up with like a new target image. That we would then take back to the artists, to the modelers and materials artists and stuff, and then they would work to try to make the game look like the paint over.
It's like a snake eating its own tail.
It's like a snake eating its own tail, the Ouroboros of art. That's probably not how you pronounce that, but don't worry about that. It's totally fine. So these images, there are only these like 3 images of the 3 characters. And they're all the same, and then they've just been painted over in different ways. So I thought we would go through these. This first one, so we have the Caberjack, the Alchemist, and then the Hunter. And this first one was having, how would you describe this? This is the 80-20? This is the old 80-20.
The old 80-20.
You gave this one the old 80-20 approach? I don't know what that means. But yeah, this was like 80% primary house color and then sort of accent color from the secondary color.
Yeah, just trying different ratios of like how much of the primary is too much, how much of the secondary is appropriate so that it still reads from a distance.
And we did these with like a red primary color and a blue secondary color.
Right.
And so you could see like how much is actually going to read on them. Yeah, cool. You want to say anything about that guy? The old 80-20? It's just reliable.
He's my favorite.
And spoilers! You're not supposed to tell that right away. So this was another take where we were trying to do like what if we just said screw the secondary color, what do they look like just with the primary color, and then how do we get as much primary color on them as possible? So it extended down into the legs, so you can see the Caberjack's leg here,
Still looks
especially
a
the
little bit
Alchemist legs.
superhero-y, long underwear-y to me.
It's the long underwear thing.
Yeah, that was the thing. Footy pajamas with the flap in the back. That's the thing that's kind of started to emerge here, and we're like, yeah, we want to avoid that as much as possible.
We're gonna check it out, and I don't know. Maybe this will inform some of the armor design too, because I mean the Caberjack looks fine.
It does. Yeah, there are definitely some better and some.
This is essentially the same.
This is currently what it is in the game right now, right?
Yeah. Which is pretty much the same as the other one.
Okay.
Oh, somebody noted that they look like red shirts from Star Trek. And we actually, we first got colors in because we don't have armor for everybody. We actually, the first like team that Brad spawned was like a yellow shirt guy, a blue shirt guy, and a red shirt. And so obviously, who's going to die in this mission?
They were like
and they all have black pants and pointy shoes.
Yeah, they all had black. They totally look like a bunch of Star Trek people holding, like they got trapped in the holodeck or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so we came up with alternate fan fiction for Massive Chalice. The whole thing is really in the holodeck with the safeties off.
So this guy, this was the lesser known 70-30 approach. You know, the 80-20, a little more popular. Especially in Western markets, but we decided to venture into the 70-30. I don't know. So this was just like getting more of the secondary color into the characters, and and really looking at these, I felt like there was too much of the secondary color. The 30 is like kind of dominating, especially on the hunter here. It's like you're seeing mostly on the top of him and on his weapon, you're seeing the blue, the secondary color, and we really want to like strongly see this guy and be like, oh yeah, he's like red first and blue second. This one here was like just an even lesser version of what's in there right now, where we just do only the primary color on the upper body, and this one it just feels like it's not coming across as much, and yeah, just having the secondary color in there is pretty cool. This was a suggestion that came from the team, was like, what if we split it in half, so the upper body is the primary color and the lower body is the secondary color. And this is just looking still a little too superhero-y, a little too...
Well, that one looks like a Disney prince.
A Disney prince, yeah. Oh, there was one.
We tried a stripe down the pant leg. It was funny because Derek drew it, and he started at the top of the leg, and he went down to the knee, and then without missing a beat, he went to the eraser, and he erased it straight away.
Like,
it wasn't even there for a second. He was just all draw, erase.
And so this is cool to have them all on the same lineup as well, and like the res is a little bit low out there for you guys in viewer land, but you know, it's really easy to kind of like visually compare them and mentally think about how it's going to look in the game, because these are all screenshots. Like they're all like the scale that you would be seeing them in the game, and it's pretty easy to evaluate them. And so really we just settled on we're going to go with so I was kind of torn between A and D, this 80-20, that first one that we looked at, and then D, the 70-30 one. Really in the 70-30 one, we did the pants as well, right? That's one of the big differences between the two. And you know, if you look at the 80-20, their pants are all neutrals. So like the skirt of the caberjack, is it a skirt? The kilt. It's probably a kilt.
More of a kilt.
It's more of a kilt. Okay, the kilt on the caberjack, the pants on the alchemist, and then the pants on the hunter are all like neutrals. So no matter what your house color is, they're going to be these kind of black or gray colors. And so I'm a little bit worried, like once we get it in the game and we get them all the way, that there just won't be enough color on them. But we're going to wait until we actually see how it looks. Because that's a pretty simple change to like just pipe the.
I think we can find a balance, because if you look at the alchemist and the hunter, they both have that sash, but the alchemist has the secondary color on it, and the hunter does not. But if you did that across on the hunter,
if you took this awesome, this is really rad right here,
the chevron, and you put that on there, I think that you would probably have enough
tips, secondary tips on here. That would look really rad. Yeah. So we can totally play around with this once we get it in the game, and we'll see. And this tech just came online as well, and you'll see it in the game later.
Yep.
When we show it off.
Right.
Do you want to say anything else about this? Do you want to talk more about painting over things?
It's very complicated.
Over things?
Yeah, I don't know.
Doing paint overs?
I could say that.
And then do we have any questions from the chat? Let's take some questions on this if there are any. Oh, I've also been informed that there's a larger delay, that Twitch has done some things, and there's a larger delay. So hopefully,
oh really?
That's yeah. Hopefully that doesn't affect any of the questions or anything.
Yeah, we'll see. None have come in yet that I have seen, but there is a question about, can we talk about B mounts? Tool of B was expecting.
Talk about B mounts.
He or she was expecting a end of year B mount surprise, but no comment right now.
We'll have to wait.
Yeah, so no.
I mean,
it's
it
like
seems,
no questions.
It seems
right
pretty
now.
straightforward.
Yeah, it's like, we'll check
it seems pretty straightforward. So we're gonna move on to our.
Oh, here this is actually a good question. Have we considered something like Braveheart face painting?
The faces
as
are very
OMG
small.
behind you.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, we hadn't really discussed that. We haven't talked about it actually. That's pretty rare. But yeah, that, like you were saying, Andy, the faces are small.
The faces are very small, and the main thing we've been trying to do with the color is find places to put it where you'll see it from all 4 camera angles. And so, yeah, we hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, another thing that we got the technology for as well is the dynamic skin color and dynamic hair color. And we really want to make sure that those things, that we don't cover those up, so there are no hats or helmets in the game. And so I think face paint kind of goes along the same, it's kind of in the same vein where
That's
we
right. I don't know whether we ever mentioned the helmets being
those kind of genetic traits and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if we, we haven't talked about it in a while. But yeah, we really want the characters' faces so you can see the skin and hair all the time. It'll hopefully help you identify the individual houses and stuff and get more attached to them is the hope.
Here's a good question from Kirby Tales 7. Are you going to use UI elements to bind them to house color as well?
Probably.
And probably, yeah. I think
definitely
where
the sigil will be in there, and probably the colors. We'd even talked about all of the buttons in the UI to be sort of like colored with the 2-color scheme of the house.
Possibly.
That could be cool. We'd like to mess around with that. We'll see where it goes. Yeah. But you know, in talking about that, a lot of the, you know, if you have like red or green house colors, if you see a red button or a green button, that actually has some like functional information along with it, and so that might actually be one of the worst ideas I've ever had.
But we have the flags, right? We have the flag motif in the UI. We can tie it in there without making everything the house colors. So, yeah.
Okay, last question. Rob Heb asks, how has the Massive Wii aged?
Oh man,
very
it is
nicely.
Delicious. It's getting sweeter.
Yeah.
It's getting sweeter.
It
and
is.
It's delicious, and I wish there was more of it. There's only like 5 bottles left.
I'm gonna have to do some more.
Super rare.
So we're gonna have to have some more wheat.
Cool. Thanks, guys. What's coming on next?
Sweet. We're gonna talk about. So we put this in the update that we sent out. We're gonna talk about demon weapons.
Demon weapons.
Demon weapons. So this sheet actually has a lot of iteration on it, and it's kind of a compilation of several days of Derek's work of just exploring like what these demon weapons can be. So we have 2 demon weapons per class, so there will be 6 demon weapons in the final game. So let's start over here with the hunter bows. So these guys up here on the top, so we have 2 demon bows that we're planning. One is okay, so just to recap really quickly, the demon bows are kind of made from pieces of demons or inspired by the demons in some way. I don't know if we're really gonna like explain it fictionally, if they're like actually crafted out of them or whatever, but they're just gonna be these like really weird weapons that kind of evoke the feeling of the demons, of the cadence when you see them. They'll have a bunch of special effects with them, and we want them to all have, they'll be alternative to the relic weapons, but also have some weird drawback. So they'll be on par with like the sort of mid to high tier relic weapons, but they will have this weird drawback, and so you'll be thinking about like if you want to equip the kind of safe human weapons versus going for this sort of like weird, I don't know, yeah, just like weird demon weapons. That's what we want them to feel like. So these first 2 are kind of, it's supposed to be like a shotgun, basically.
Yeah, we're calling it a shot bow.
So the hunter is all about like long range combat, and we're like, okay, like this will be a very powerful ranged weapon, but you know the range will be like cut in half, and it'll make you play that character a lot differently when they're using this weapon, and that'll be the main drawback. We'd also talked about maybe having this thing knock you back when you shoot it.
Yep.
So you know it's actually actively working against you. Try to get close, and then it knocks you back a little bit when you shoot it, and like do a ton of damage.
It's kind of like the noisy cricket from Men in Black. You know, remember that?
I do not remember that.
It's a bit
Will
bigger.
Smith has this little tiny gun, and he's like, "Well, we got a midget cricket," and he shoots it, and he flies back into a car. It's awesome, great scene, classic film.
So these
Not
are
as good as Die Hard.
These are based off of the growth demon. So that's the other thing is that we're still a little bit early. Some of them make sense, and some of them don't. To be kind of directly linked to demons. We're thinking about each of the demons linking one of these weapons to them, so the visual design will be inspired by it, and then you'll have to kill a certain number of those demons before you can like unlock the research, the kind of research thing in the tree, and then once that's researched, you'll get these demon weapons for everybody in your party. So yeah, you want to say anything about these? I think they look crazy and awesome.
Maybe
and
too gun-like. I don't know.
Maybe too gun-like. Yeah.
They do look kind of BFG-ish.
Yeah.
I do like the sawed-off shotgun feel. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's crazy that it's like a shoulder-mounted crossbow that is then had the sawed-off shotgun treatment to it. So I think that part's reading really well. That it's like, yeah, that looks like it would be a shorter range thing. It has that feel. It's cool. But maybe we do need to get more of the bowness back onto it, and that's
it's a hard balance between how much it has to look like the weapon, and then like how much the part of the demon is incorporated into the weapon.
Sure.
Like how alien is it?
And we do want them to feel different than the main. Like the mainline weapons are the ones that you're gonna start out with and grow into relics. There's going to be kind of one trajectory, and these should feel pretty different than that. Almost like, you know, you're carving up this demon and figuring out how can we turn this into something we know how to use. And that's cool. I like where you've captured it. A lot of people pointed out that they like an H1, H2, and H4 that they kind of look like, especially H4 and H1 look like hands, like a big hand of a demon that's, you know, firing spikes out. It's pretty sweet.
So the other bow, I think this was the main exploration for like the shotgun bow, the short range bow. So the other bow, several variations of these, is like a piercing bow. So it'll have, it'll be able to go through an enemy and hit several of them in a line, but it'll have friendly fire. That's going to be the drawback for that. So you'll just have to be very careful when you shoot it that you don't shoot it through your own guys as well. We'll try that out and see how it feels as a drawback, but I think it could be really interesting. And for this one, like, clear winner for me is the six bow, the 6-bow crossbow. Like, I think it looks really awesome. There are several of these, H3, H6, H8, all have this like real crazy kind of like, it's like 6 bows instead of 1. So I love it. I did also these weird collapsible ones. I think are cool, and this kind of like almost Batwing looking one is very rad as well. You know, some of this might be useful in the shotgun bow.
Yeah, it might.
This is kind of cool because I feel like we're so busy we don't have time to like sit down and talk about this stuff in great detail. So I like that the Teamstream can be like a forcing function where we can all, hey, let's hang around and drink beer and talk about artwork. It's pretty sweet. But we could maybe get some of this this stuff into the shot bow, this weird kind of more compact bow. Maybe look at some composite bows. Those are like, although those are still pretty beefy, aren't they?
They get pretty techy is the problem.
Yeah. But yeah, so those are pretty sweet. I think the 6-bow, especially this one has a nice beef to it that I think is cool. And it totally makes sense. If you're shooting a crossbow bolt with 6 bows instead of 1, it would totally go through. Actually, it's really 3.
It's 3.
Have I been saying 6 the whole time?
Yeah. But
You didn't? Nobody corrected me? You just hanging me out to dry here?
It depends. It could be, so we haven't seen the other cross section of these.
That's true. I'm
assuming that you duplicate this other side, and then it's 6.
I think it's only 3 bows. If you shot it with 3 bows, it would totally
it's
go
3
faster. And it would
quad
go through
bows,
stuff.
so really it's like
interesting.
12x.
But yeah, H3 is totally my favorite on this one. It's really weird, and this could come right out of the fossilization guy. I feel like this is one of the easier ones we have to connect to the kind of fossilization guy that flings bones. I think this would be really great to just have like, you know, these are pieces of his flinger, and it shoots the bones that he shoots, and I think that would be like super rad. Okay, next up are the flingers. We don't have a name for these yet, do we?
Flingers.
The flingers. We've been calling them flingers or chuckers or I don't know. We need to come up with a good name.
I think in code they are actually the name of the highlight, the Zistra.
Yeah, the thing that
it's
the
hard to
dudes
spell
use in
and say.
highlight. Yeah, we're not gonna.
There's a lot of different names to that too. So
for these we have 2 of them. One of them is pretty simple, but I think it'll be good. It's basically just a chaotic chucker. So it's going to be very inaccurate when you throw the bombs, and the bombs are going to be much larger and more destructive than the ones you normally throw. So that should add like this weird level of risk.
Because you don't know they're going to be.
You don't know
your
where they're
spread
gonna
is
go.
going to be higher, so it's going to be harder to accurately.
Be very hard to hit, and the friendly fire will be on for I think all the bombs, but we'll see how that plays out. And I think that one links very well to the corrosion demon, the suicide demon. So if you look at A1, 2, A6, 7 here, these guys have this awesome like corrosion type theming to them or whatever. And the red head gem is kind of the bomb that you throw. I think that's really awesome. I think we're going to use that sort of as like that's kind of the catalyst that he uses to blow himself up. And if you're kind of like chucking them, it has I think it'll be very cool to see it kind of like loaded and glowing in the thrower when he's got it. And I think we can really sell that as being destructive. We could also, a lot of this stuff is going to change like as we work through, as we just implement it and see what's fun and see what works and what doesn't. When that guy blows up, he's going to probably leave corruption. And so that could be another way that we introduce drawbacks to this weapon. It could be very destructive, but it actually leaves the... so it damages the demons, but then it does corrupt the areas which they can walk on, but you can't, and that could be another cool way to balance it. But we'll see. Like I think that one, it's really just like number tweaks, but I think it will be very satisfying to like chuck big bombs and kind of cross your fingers when you throw them. I think it's going to be fine. The other launcher, which right now it's like you've used the growth demons, which have the weird hard obsidian kind of lumps for heads, and so I like that of using that as the actual projectile. I don't exactly know how we're going to do this, but the idea is that it is a donut bomb launcher is what we're calling it.
I just had a thought just right now.
Yeah.
If the black thing was like a bunch of, well, you never see it, but if it split off into, if it like split off, cluster bomb. Do a bunch.
That would fit growth.
And then landed, it would fit growth perfectly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So the idea with it is that you're going to target a square, and wherever it lands, the normal bombs in like tactical games will blow up like a plus sign. It'll hit the square that you throw it on, and then one north, south, west, and east. So it'll actually damage 5 squares. So we're like, wouldn't it be cool if you could actually not damage the square that it lands on, but damage the 8 squares around it.
And maybe
so
more.
If you imagine the 3x3, so this bomb will hit and then only damage the things that are around it. So if you've got one of your own melee guys that's surrounded by a bunch of dudes, you can actually target him with like the donut bomb, hit him with it, and it'll damage those 8 squares and not damage him.
That would come in handy for saving all those poor caberjacks.
Yeah. And we'll get to that later. Caberjack's a little sad right now in the game.
I think you guys aren't using them correctly, but it's early.
We'll see. So that's weird. And then you can still use it to actually attack enemies. You'll just have to aim one square off and then hope that you hit that square. So it'll be interesting. We're going to play around with that and see if it works. And I think that's a cool idea, having it sort of... I love those... things like fuel air bombs and like anything that explodes way off of the ground and then sort of rains downwards. I think we could do that if it exploded and then sort of sent shards down in a ring like that. I think it could be very, very cool and only damage those 8 squares and keep the center one protected. It's awesome. I'm like super thumbs up to that. We'll see, but again, like I think we're going to cool off on the concepts for these. Get them implemented and then do another round on them once we have a better idea of how the gameplay will work, and then a stronger connection of like which of the demons does it make the most sense to connect it to, which of the families. Okay, so the cabers are the last ones that you did. So we started. It's pretty obvious where we started. C3, C4, C5, and C6. This is the time fist. This is where we started. So some of them, if you look at C4 and C6. It's a literal time fist. Actually, C4 is the best. It's the best defender. It's the time fistiest. It actually has like an hourglass shape and it has a giant fist on it, so it's the most literal time fist out there. The idea with this is that you'll be able to hit an enemy with your attack, and then it will blink it out of existence for a while. It'll basically teleport it into the future a couple of turns, and then it will come back into that same square and then take damage when it comes back. So this is sort of like a way to do some crowd control on the enemies, hit a very powerful enemy with it, deal with the other ones, and then when it comes back, you'll only have that one enemy to deal with. if
kind of like
you've cleaned up
bounce
the other ones.
in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. It's about like delaying
skill.
it and letting you. Yeah, I think it's going to be very cool. The drawback, I guess, right now is that you won't be able to not use it. Is that the idea? Every time you hit a dude, it's like it's gonna do that.
I think it's probably gonna do that. We'll see.
I don't know. It might
give
another,
you a skill that lets you do that.
That lets you do it to give you more control.
Yeah,
That's We're not. I'm not really sure like how punishing we want these things to be, but it's for sure it's an interesting thing. I liked some of these other ones, like if you look at C8, the Swapper Demon, the big brutish guy. A lot of this stuff sort of is playing off of his, not C6, but if you look at C5 and C8 specifically, those are more playing off of like his big weird kind of nubbin, his club hand or whatever, and I think that's pretty cool having it be the business end. I think C5 is cool because it plays off of that, but then it also has this sort of like loosely carved fist on it. It's not too overt, it's not too cheesy, so I think that this one's pretty cool. But again, we'll take another stab at this once
I like C5 a lot.
Once we decide on it. The other ones are very cool too, but I also like that it's full of time juice. So this would come from the Swapper, and that dude's a forgetful demon, and I think that one's rad. I also special shout out to C9 with the the rocket caber.
Forgetful rocket.
Super hilarious. Awesome. Hey, you got to get all those ideas out of there.
Throwing it out there.
So C1 and 2, these are the other caber that we have planned is like a super knockback caber. So the caber jack is going to be based around kind of like a core knockback skill, and this will add knockback to all of your regular attacks and then super knockback to your knockback skill. And the idea here is that the drawback is that sometimes you're not going to want to knock characters back. It might not be beneficial because you have other melee guys around or whatever. Yep. But you will have to. You will not be able to not knock back a guy with one of these things equipped. So it'll just be sort of up to you if you want to bring one of those in or not. And these are very cool. This is like straight out of the Corrosion family, and I think it's super rad. I don't know. You got anything to say about these? I think that. I think C1 is like pretty straightforward, but I think it totally gets the job done. I love the weird fuzzy corrosion stuff on it. I think that's like really awesome, and it's got the head gem kind of like as the business end. I think it's really cool. This one looks like you would like. I think I like the idea of hitting people with the gem part. I think that's like it's a little on the nose, but I think it totally reads and it's really cool. Yeah. So sweet. That's
one thing we talked about was the handle position, which will be fixed, I guess.
I'm fighting for that.
Yeah, and you know what? We haven't done like final animations or rigs or anything for these, so I think we should totally change it. That was something that came up on the forums. There is an amazing thread about. I mean, it feels like a small detail, but it's cool that and I feel like we don't always have the time to like delve into every single tiny detail, and it's really cool that some people on the forums. I wish I had the names. I wish I had written it down. But thanks to whoever started that thread, talking about like what is if you were to use a battering ram weapon like this, what is the proper like handhold setup for it? And it's like right now we had been thinking of them both being parallel to the actual caber, but they could both be perpendicular, or one could be parallel and the one in the back could be perpendicular. That seems like the most usable version.
The most versatile, but then if you look at like real police battering rams, they're either both perpendicular or one perpendicular and the other one not.
So I think we can mess around with that, and it's really like when it comes time to like do final animations for the caber jack, we want to make sure that like it actually makes sense and it doesn't look like he or she is going to break their wrists when they use the weapon. So that's something that we're going to look at. Sweet. Do we have questions about demon weapons and any of the art? These are really sweet too. Mm-hmm. Great job, Derek.
Yeah.
Excellent art direction, Andy. Telling Derek what to draw.
Don't have to. He just does it. It's always awesome.
But this is one of the things that I'm like most excited about is that these will kind of like they're major rewards for fighting the demons and progressing on the strategy side, and it feeds into the tactical layer, and like plus I really I get frustrated in XCOM, just the way the progression works, where once you get a laser gun, it's always better than the base ones, and you just want to use it. And once you get a plasma gun, it's always better than the other ones. So these are sort of like upgrades and side grades kind of built into the same kind of system. So you won't always want to use them, just because, like for instance, that like shotgun bow. If you're going into sort of a more wide open map, like in that salt stacks kind of area, you probably want the range. So it's probably better to like sacrifice some damage for some range in that case, and you might not take it. But if you're going into like the alpine thing, when there's a lot of like tight foresty areas, you totally take that shotgun bow. So I hope that it just makes people think more about like which of the weapons, like sort of once you have them all unlocked and you have the choice between like a solid relic weapon or either of these demon weapons, which one are you going to go with? You know.
All right, we got some questions coming in.
Sweet.
There are two questions that kind of like fit together, but Waving People asks if a family of Cadence would drop weapons for all classes or specific types, and Mind of Clink asks if demon weapons are specific to certain classes, certain demon types, or any class can receive a weapon from any demon type. So can you talk a little bit about like, how we've planned these out?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically like there are only going to be 6 in the game, and you will have to defeat enough of those demons of either that specific type or that specific family in order to unlock the ability to research it through the research system in the strategy layer, and that will take months or years to like research it, and then once it's unlocked, it'll just get unlocked for that class. They are all class specific, so only the Caberjacks can use the Cabers. But yeah.
So basically, we kind of figured out like how many of these we think we need for each character, and then we thought about like what abilities they should have, and then how does that relate to the demons that we have in the game, and then how can we spread those out so it's not like, oh, we have 10 from one class and whatever. So we're still, but it's not one-to-one, and there isn't a demon weapon for every enemy type for every character.
Right.
Another question, Solar Blitz. Welcome back, Solar Blitz.
Oh, also that Mind of Clink.
Yes.
Mind of Clink. That is, I forget his name. I want to say Mark. And he's the guy that gifted...
oh, sweet.
He's the guy that gifted a ton of $100 tiers for us to give away.
And we'll be giving away one of those.
And we'll be giving away one of those later. I totally forgot.
We also have a bunch of Double Fine's
brandy.
Humble Bundles, too. So stick around. Get some Double Fine games. Solar Blitz asks, will demonic crossbows and regular crossbows need different bolts?
No. Right now we're just kind of eschewing any like ammo system from the game, just streamlining it out so you won't have to reload.
They may visually have a different bolt though.
Yes,
if we get to it.
And the effects will be different. The effects will be different on them, and they should feel totally different and probably sound different. But you won't have to worry about like equipping different ammo or anything like that.
And then he also asks, did we intend for C3 to C5 to have hourglass motifs?
Oh, absolutely. They're time fists. Yeah.
Full of time juice.
Full of time juice, yeah. Don't drop it.
And then Abun asks, can we give Derek a high five for the community? So Brad, I'm going to let you do that.
Fuck yes, we can.
For the community.
Bam.
Yeah.
High five
Right.
given.
The whole community in that.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I lost my
Lost
mic.
his mic.
All right.
Shadowman asks, were you still thinking about permanent drawbacks for using demon weapons, such as having heal or curse until he dies?
We talked about that, and I think we're kind of shying away from that.
Yeah, we're kind of going for almost the Team Fortress style. Some of the new guns they've added to that have like minus something and plus something else. So having some tactical drawbacks but benefits. So it kind of changes up your play style where you're going to need to use these guys differently than if you use normal weapons, but it can be a real big benefit if you use them in the right way.
There are a couple of drawbacks that we've talked about that do feel more permanent, like aging every time you attack or things like that. Like I think that would fit one of these. Like if we do say for the time fist, we just have it set up so that it does give you that extra skill, and every time you use it, it's going to age you a year, and you kind of have to like think about whether or not you want to do that. Like that could be very cool, where it's like that one, it doesn't. It has a more strategic drawback rather than a tactical drawback. I think that's pretty interesting.
Cool.
There's different ways that we can slice that, but we were thinking that more of those kind of like permanent, like crippling effects would be on the enemy attacks. Things that the enemies are doing to you rather than things you're having to choose to do to yourself. That's where we're thinking about it right now. Okay.
And then there is a question of will the cadence weapons always be available after being researched? The current plan is yes. That because this game takes place on such a long timeline, that you're not building individual weapons.
Right.
Once you kind of hit that tier of technology, you know how to make them. You've killed enough dudes.
You're like, cool.
You can make at least 5 of them. We're just going to give that to you, and you get them automatically. So no researching something and then having to wait to build it.
Right. Okay.
Cool. Thanks. Good questions.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back, and we'll give
Stay
some stuff away,
tuned.
and then
More
keep talking
cool
about
stuff.
stuff.
The game itself.
We'll show the game.
And prizes.
Cool.
Christmas.
Stick around.